In July 2025, King Charles brought 180 years of royal travel to an end, and he did it because a nine-carriage train had gotten too expensive to justify. Queen Victoria was the first British monarch to travel by rail, boarding a train at Slough on the 13th of June, 1842, in a carriage originally built for her predecessor's widow, Queen Adelaide. At the London and Birmingham Railways Works in Wolverton, it was a short, unremarkable journey by later standards, but it was enough to establish rail travel as a fixture of royal life for nearly 2 centuries afterward. For 25 years she made do with converted carriages before commissioning a bespoke vehicle of her own in 1869 at a cost of £1,800, worth roughly £210,000 today. The commission came from the London and North Western Railway, one of several companies that would spend the following decades competing for the prestige of building the sovereign's next carriage. By the time of her Diamond Jubilee in 1897, the Great Western Railway had built her a complete train of 6 vehicles. Reflecting both the scale of that year's celebrations and the practical demands of a monarch well into her 70s, who still insisted on touring the length of her own country in person. Onboard toilets, electric lighting, telephones, bathtubs, private bedrooms, air conditioning. The royal train quietly pioneered comforts that ordinary rail passengers wouldn't see for generations. The King's Saloon in the modern train still includes a sitting room, a bedroom, and a private bathroom, arranged along a corridor that also houses a dining car and separate accommodation for staff and security. Every fixture inside had been refined across generations of use, less a showpiece for outsiders than a genuinely functional space for a working household on the move. None of it was designed for speed. The train's value had always rested on privacy and comfort during long journeys, not on getting anywhere faster than an ordinary service could manage. The current train, 9 carriages in deep claret livery, has carried monarchs and senior royals for decades, its drivers selected specifically for the ability to bring the entire train to a stop within 6 inches of a designated platform marker. That standard applied every single time the train pulled into a station, regardless of weather, visibility, or how many decades the crew had spent perfecting the approach. Retirement was actually considered once before, back in 1997. But the train earned a reprieve when it was pressed into heavy use for Queen Elizabeth's Golden Jubilee in 2002 and her Diamond Jubilee a decade later. Both jubilees required moving the monarch and her household across long stretches of the country on tightly scheduled tours, precisely the kind of extended, multi-stop itinerary the train had always been built for. And precisely the kind of travel that became rarer once the family's public appearances shifted toward shorter, more concentrated visits. This time, there will be no reprieve. The maintenance contract expires in early 2027 and will not be renewed. James Chalmers, the keeper of the privy purse, explained the decision in blunt financial terms rather than sentimental ones. The role itself is one of the oldest in the royal household, responsible for managing the sovereign grant and the wider financial machinery behind the monarchy's public duties. And Chalmers had spent recent years pushing for exactly the kind of scrutiny that eventually caught up with the train. Few of the household's cost reviews attract public attention the way this one did, precisely because so few of them involve a symbol as visible as a 9-carriage train. Royal travel costs had already reached £4.7 million a year, with the number of individual journeys costing more than £17,000, nearly doubling in a single year. The train itself had added roughly £500,000 to costs in the most recent year alone. Chalmers put the choice plainly. The household could not remain bound by the past while asking the public to fund its future. He framed the decision as part of a wider discipline the household intended to apply across every area of spending, not a single symbolic cut aimed at the train specifically. In its place, the royal family will rely on 2 newly purchased helicopters and scheduled commercial trains for official travel around the country. The shift mirrors a broader pattern already underway across the household, where a Bentley in the royal fleet had recently been converted to run on biofuel, and further conversions to electric vehicles were reportedly under consideration. part of a wider effort to modernize how the family moves without appearing to spend more than necessary while doing it. Cost was not the only factor working against it. The train had, by then, become something close to a novelty rather than a necessity. It made fewer than 10 journeys a year in its final seasons, a sharp decline from the decades when royal tours by rail were routine. Helicopters and scheduled trains could cover the same ground in a fraction of the time, without the weeks of advanced planning a 9-carriage train required every time it left its sidings. Andrea Rossi, chief executive of DB Cargo UK, whose company had operated the train on the government's behalf for 30 years, described a genuine sense of occasion whenever it appeared on the network, calling it a source of pride for the drivers selected to take the controls of what he considered the most prestigious train in Britain. His company had managed the locomotives and driving crews for 3 decades without a single serious operational incident, a record built on the same 6-inch precision standard that governed every platform stop the train ever made. Britain is not the only monarchy giving up this particular tradition. Japan, Sweden, and the Netherlands have all retired their own royal trains within the past 25 years. Each retired the tradition for broadly similar reasons, weighing the cost of maintaining a dedicated fleet against travel options that had become faster, cheaper, and less dependent on advanced coordination with national rail networks. Only Denmark and Norway still maintain dedicated royal carriages, and even those see only occasional use. Neither country funds anything close to the scale of Britain's 9-carriage fleet, relying instead on single ceremonial vehicles reserved for rare state occasions rather than regular travel. Before its own retirement takes effect, the British Royal Train is expected to make one final farewell tour of the country, offering rail enthusiasts and royal watchers a last chance to see it pass. What happens to the carriages afterward remains undecided. Railway historians have expressed hope that they'll end up preserved in a museum, likely the National Railway Museum in York, rather than scrapped for parts. The museum already holds several retired royal carriages from earlier eras, including vehicles once used by Victoria herself, offering some precedent for how the current fleet might eventually be treated once its working life on the network ends. 6 monarchs rode that train across nearly 2 centuries of British history, from Victoria's first tentative journey out of Slough to whatever farewell tour finally closes the line. The railway age that produced it is long gone, replaced by motorways and commercial flights decades ago. In 2027, the last carriage built specifically to carry it will go too.